In a small, sleepy neighborhood, right at the edge of the city, there lived a retired postman named Thomas Reed. Every morning, he began his day with the same quiet, almost sacred routine. First, a cup of warm tea, the steam curling up into the pale morning light. Then, a slow, careful stretch of his aging back, a ritual of acknowledging time's gentle passage. And finally, a long, thoughtful look at the empty street he once knew by heart, a street that held the echoes of his life's work. For 35 years, Thomas had been more than just a postman. He was a keeper of secrets, a bearer of news, a silent witness to the endless cycle of human life. He delivered letters filled with dreams, postcards capturing fleeting moments of joy, birthday wishes wrapped in colorful paper, and the heavy, final goodbyes that no one ever wants to receive. He knew every dog by its bark and every garden by its unique floral scent. He could almost guess the contents of a letter just by the handwriting on the envelope, the hurried scrawl of a lover, the looping cursive of a grandparent, the tear-stained ink of a broken heart. He wasn't just delivering mail, he was delivering connection, one house at a time. But the world, as it always does, changed. Emails replaced letters, text replaced postcards. The familiar weight of his mailbag grew lighter and lighter until, one day, the letters simply stopped coming. The familiar rhythm of his daily route faded into memory, and so, Thomas retired. His own mailbox, once a symbol of his trade, now stood empty, a silent sentinel on his quiet lawn. The silence in his life, once a peaceful companion, grew heavier with each passing day, each unspoken word, each undelivered message. One crisp autumn afternoon, while searching for an old blanket in his attic, Thomas's hand brushed against a forgotten cardboard box. It was buried under a pile of memories, sealed with tape that had yellowed and cracked with age, and covered in a thick layer of dust. Curiosity, a feeling he hadn't felt in a long time, stirred within him. He carefully cut the tape and lifted the lid. Inside, nestled in the dim light of the attic, were letters, dozens of them. And as he picked one up, he saw the familiar address, written in his own hand. They were all addressed to himself. He sat down on the dusty floorboards, the afternoon sun streaming through the single attic window, and began to read. These weren't letters of triumph or joy. They were lifelines, written on nights when life felt impossibly heavy, when the weight of the world seemed to settle squarely on his shoulders. Nights when he doubted his purpose, when he wondered if his small, daily act of delivering hope to others was enough to save himself from his own quiet despair. Each one began with the same line, a mantra he had unknowingly created for his future self. Thomas, if you're reading this, you made it through another day. He read them slowly, one by one. Each word was like a small match, lighting a forgotten corner of his soul, reminding him of the battles he had fought and won in silence. He remembered the nights of loneliness, the quiet grief, the gnawing uncertainty, and he saw the strength that had carried him through, captured in his own handwriting. But as he sifted through the pile, one letter stood out. It was a small, pale yellow envelope. It had no date, no stamp, no return address. Just his name, written in a delicate, familiar script. Thomas, his hands trembled as he picked it up. He knew that handwriting instantly. It belonged to his late wife, Margaret. With a breath he didn't realize he was holding, he carefully opened the seal. Inside was a short, simple note. "My love," it said. "If you ever feel lost after I'm gone, deliver one last letter, not for me. For someone who needs it." The words were a soft whisper from the past, a final gift from the woman who had known him better than he knew himself. The next morning, something shifted in Thomas. He walked to his closet and pulled out his old postman uniform, the one Margaret always said made him look important, like a captain of his own small ship. The fabric was warm, the creases familiar. He put it on, and it felt like coming home. He walked out his front door and into the neighborhood, the sound of crisp autumn leaves crunching under his feet. He breathed in the familiar air, the air that had once carried thousands of stories, thousands of hopes and fears. He didn't have a route, he didn't have a destination, he just walked and listened. Then, he saw her. Mrs. Doyle, his former neighbor from across the street, was sitting alone on her porch swing, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Thomas's heart, the heart of a postman who had seen so much sorrow, went out to her. He walked up her garden path, his footsteps slow and deliberate. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice gentle. She looked up, her eyes red and swollen, and quickly wiped her tears. I lost someone yesterday," she whispered, her voice cracking. "And I didn't get to say goodbye." Thomas just nodded. He understood. He reached into his old satchel, the worn leather cool against his hand. He bypassed the letters he had written to himself, the ones that had saved him in the attic. Instead, he pulled out the one letter he had never read, the one Margaret had left for him. A blank, yellow envelope, Margaret's envelope. He handed it to Mrs. Doyle. "No one should wait for a goodbye alone," he said softly. Her hand shook as she took it from him. She carefully opened the flap, and her eyes fell upon the single sentence written inside, penned years ago by a woman with the foresight of pure love. Hope always arrives sometimes, it just needs someone to deliver it. Fresh tears streamed down Mrs. Doyle's face, but this time, they weren't tears of just sorrow. They were tears of connection, of being seen in her darkest moment. Thomas reached out and held her hand, and in that simple, human touch, he felt something warm and profound expand inside his chest. It wasn't grief, it wasn't loneliness, it was purpose. It was the feeling he had been missing for so long. From that day forward, Thomas Reed walked his old neighborhood again. He wasn't a postman for the government anymore. He didn't carry bills or junk mail. He carried his own letters, his own stories of survival, and that one simple message from Margaret. He became a postman of hope, delivering connection, a kind word, and a listening ear to anyone who felt lost and alone. One letter, one conversation, one moment at a time. Some messages take years to arrive, but they always seem to reach us exactly when we need them most. Thanks for watching. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.